All right, it's that time again. Welcome back for another great episode of Living a Purposeful Lifestyle. I'm your host, Jason Ricks. Today, I'm super pumped to have a special guest with us today that's had over 40 years of experience in the food business and has got a really cool angle of what he's doing now. So he's a LinkedIn business-to-business connoisseur. So he is one of the best at doing LinkedIn Lives, and actually someone who helped me when I first started doing LinkedIn Live, and just has a tremendous amount of experience in the food industry. Welcome to the show, Randal. I am so glad to have you and Calvin join us today, and we couldn't be happier to have you.
Yeah, as soon as I got a little older, I got to add Calvin into the equation here. So I'm with him 24/7. We don't spend too much time separated, no doubt about that.
Yeah, and he's quite the football fan, and is pretty good at picking the winners. So, Calvin, for everybody at home, let's get right into it. As we always do, for everyone at home, can you kind of walk us through how you got to where you're at today? I mean, I know you do a lot with the food industry and featuring items. So, for those at home that don't know, just tell us the story, like how it started and kind of what you do.
Okay, I'm going to start this just to explain this. I'm a LSU guy. I'm an LSU guy, so the whole family's LSU. But with Calvin, what he did was when Nick Saban, right?
Yeah.
When Nick Saban went to Alabama, that's when Calvin decided to follow Alabama. So I talk a lot about Louisiana and Mississippi, but just because Calvin's talking about Alabama, and we have a background that says Alabama, I had to give you the background as far as that's concerned.
Just for you.
That's your team there. Okay. Anyway, I got into the as soon as I hit 16, I started working with Winn-Dixie. I worked with 3 different grocery chains. I worked with Winn-Dixie, I worked with A&P, and I worked with National. And then later down the road, I ended up working with. I started a business in the brokerage business, and I basically represented probably 20 or 30 different companies from all over the country. And my territory was Southern Louisiana and Southern Mississippi. And I did that for over 20 years. And then after we pretty much knew what was going on with Cajun food, right, Calvin? Yeah. Okay. And then in 98, I worked with a startup to sell product around the country. So basically, just in a fast explanation.
Hey. Tell them about Roger the plumber.
Oh, we'll get to the plumbing thing at the end there. Okay, so 20 years in kind of like the brokerage business, and then 20 years on the national scene. As far as working with companies around working with a different manufacturer around the country. But what happened in about 7 years ago, LinkedIn started letting us write. And I don't know about you, I'm not a writer. Are you a writer? I'm not a writer. And I thought, you got to be kidding. We got a chance to write articles for everybody reading, and I figured, well, okay, I'll go ahead and get started with that. And I started doing articles, and then I decided at that time, you know what? I want to start writing about something that people can agree on. And as you know, there's not many things that people could agree on, but I do think they could agree on supporting the American food, industry. If you have product that's made in the United States, or a beverage that's made in the United States, I figured that at least 99% should agree on that. So that's what I did. I started writing about all the different food manufacturers. I'm talking about small manufacturers that have $50,000 in sales a year to, the big super, big brands. And that's what I started doing. 3 years ago, I ended up having to take care of my dad because my dad had Alzheimer's, and I had to take care of Calvin. So I had to think of what can I do to now what I'm going to do. So I decided that I'm going to start doing videos with Calvin. I thought that, after having 40 years in the business, that, I'm going to put Calvin in the business. And when I go to food shows, I'm going to bring Calvin. I'm going to get him part of the the business. because in the years before that, if I would go to a food show in Las Vegas, my wife would be in the hotel with Calvin during the day while I went to the show. But why can't he go? Why can't he express his opinion? And that's how I got into where I'm at today. So now Calvin does the LinkedIn Lives with me, and Calvin has a few opinions, right, Calvin?
Oh
So
yeah.
that's it. That's how I got into this.
Well,
That's awesome. So I guess to back up a little bit. So when you first started in the food industry some 40 years ago, obviously you couldn't have imagined what you're doing today, but what was it about food and beverage that really interested you or perhaps got you involved? Like, how did you fall into that?
Well, I think the main thing is that when I grew up, my grandparents had gardens and spent time, with the tomatoes and the peppers and the cucumbers, and I saw all that done. I lived where they had a big sugarcane field right in my backyard. There was sugarcane everywhere.
Thibodeau.
Yep, in Thibodeau. And my uncle was a farmer, and he had the farm. So I think I saw so much food production and so much seafood oriented stuff being done as a kid that when I hit 16, I figured, you know what, I'm going to sell food. I mean, I'm going to work in the food industry, but later down the road, when I decided to sell food, it kind of like, I know where most of it comes from.
We were in the News 25. We were on News 25 here in Mississippi.
Oh, yes, I did. I saw that where y'all got interviewed, and they were giving you guys all the praise, Calvin, for this great following that you're following. I mean, if you look at the one of the things that you'll notice if you're on LinkedIn, I would highly recommend, if you're not on LinkedIn, if you're joining us on one of the other platforms, go to LinkedIn and check out Randal and Calvin, and you'll see just the tremendous growth they've had in the following, and everybody has really started picking up on this thing that y'all do. And one of the things that I was drawn to was, you would have all these different salsas. And as a guy that grew up in the South, I'm a very big fan of salsa. So that's what kind of drew me in. And I mean, you guys have featured, I got to tell you, I've lost count of how many different salsas that you guys have done. But
just that category. Now, in your stores, what is a big brand in your store?
Well, in our stores, like, I have Buc-ee's, obviously we don't sell a lot of salsa per se. It's typically the normal paste picante sauce up in the Omaha area, so we don't have we don't do the mom and pop or some of those off brands that you would see at some of the other, or at the Buc-ee's that's down in the Houston and in the southern states. A lot of people get our company confused, so they would think that it's all the same, and it's not. There's our company, which operates here in Omaha, Chicago, St. Louis, St. Joe primarily. We do have 4 stores in Houston, but the predominance of our footprint is in the Midwest. But in most of our stores, we just sell the regular paste picante sauce. And I would tell you, in general, in this area of the country, finding really good salsa is not as easy to come by, nor is good Mexican food, in my opinion.
And the thing here is that these are all small manufacturers that typically don't really compete against each other. And the deal is, it gives us an opportunity to talk about 5 different salsas that have 5 different markets. And they all have something kind of, a little bit different. Like the first one we got started with was Little Diablo salsa out of Michigan. And they're a pretty, they're in jars, just typical, the typical jar. But their product is in Whole Foods. So if they're in Whole Foods, that means, it's a clean label. So that's something a little different. And then later down the road, we started working with Salsa de Rosa out of Washington. In fact,
a representative came down.
Yep. The guy that runs the show came visit us in Mississippi, came all the way from Washington. And he drove. He didn't fly. He drove.
Wow. He drove all the way down just to see you guys.
Well, did a few things along the way, but the thing is, he did go an extra mile because he was I think he was in Thibodeau at the time, and he had to drive an extra, I don't know, a couple hours to come see us, and he did. And we spent some time, talking about different things, and it was great to see somebody, that you talk to or exchange engagement, on LinkedIn, and then you actually see them in real life. So that was pretty cool. Then there's Kaivan salsa out of I think it's made in Georgia, and the one that they had is hot. It was a hot apple salsa. So that was something a little, that's something a little different. And then there's La Casita out of Texas. Maybe that's something maybe a little closer into your market maybe. And she has a different thing. So the jars are different, the packaging's different, the flavors are different, and where you sell them are different. Like some might be sold in grocery, and some may be sold in the refrigerated department. So it's like, why not talk about all of them all at the same time? And that's what we do.
So where did you get this idea that, I know you kind of talked about LinkedIn and writing articles and whatnot, but at what point did you say, this is really something I could do, and take care of myself? I mean, I find it fascinating that you've really turned this into a big deal. And, I think that y'all do. What do you do now? About 3 shows a week where you feature different products?
Well, we're at 108 or 109 in the last year and a half.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, in fact, we did one from the parking lot of a Sam's Club.
Yeah.
At nighttime.
You did a show?
And it was cold. Yes, we did a LinkedIn Live in the parking lot. Yep, we did that.
Oh my
so
goodness.
We've done some crazy things. I would say that at least half of the shows I've done, Calvin's been involved. I try to get Calvin involved in all of them. And today was a good day, right, Calvin?
Yeah.
Sometimes his medications make him sleepy, so he might not be in the best of he might be on the sleepy side, even if it's during the day. So I let him sleep and I do it by myself, right, Cal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if I remember back, one of the first nights that I met y'all after, it was right around the first of the year, if I remember right, it was that last week, right before, and Alabama was getting ready for the semifinal game, and he had chosen his Alabama Crimson Tide to take it all the way, and as good luck for him would have it, they actually pulled it through. I'm sure there's some folks watching at home that probably aren't big Alabama fans, but I was happy for Calvin, and I tell you, their team looked pretty stout this year. So.
And the thing that was funny was that he predicted that they were going to win by 4 touchdowns, and that's exactly what they won by. Because I think a lot of people would have said he was crazy. No, they're not going to win by 4 touchdowns, and he nailed it right on target. So now he's kind of like Tom Brady. He's got a whole bunch of championships to his name. So he's got like 6 of them, or 6 or 7.
7.
And he gets the LSU one too, because he was an LSU fan before Nick Saban went over there. So he gets to claim all those different victories. But this is how we started with the giveaways. When you're in the brokerage business, you get samples of whatever you're selling, and you go out in the streets and, like I might go to your chain and show you, hey, this is what I want to sell you. Okay. So when you're in sales, you get a bunch of different samples. So I felt that, hey, most of the people that are actually watching us probably sell something, but wouldn't it be great if you got something that you didn't sell? So that's where I got that idea. The majority of my sales have been in refrigerated and frozen. And the thing that's hard to do, of course, is to ship frozen goods, it just raises the price of trying to send something out, for a contest. So I kind of limited it to stuff that's what was economical to ship. So that's how we got started. But the first one I did was Texana Brands olive oil. That's made in Texas. Did you know that Texas has like 5,000 acres of olive trees? Did you know that?
I didn't. Where's that located at?
That's up there, up by Austin, up around Dallas, somewhere in that neck of the woods.
Austin, Texas.
Somewhere in that neck of the woods. But I didn't know. I knew California had olive trees.
Wow.
And I know that most of the olive oil that's bought in the United States is coming from another country. But this was a great opportunity to promote local olive oil. And the thing is, when you're doing something local, you can do the flavors that appeal to Americans. And what they did is they did a smoky mesquite, coming out of Texas. That would work, right?
You would think. I mean,
Yeah.
in that area, mesquite's a big thing in Texas.
Big thing. And then they did a Cajun, they did a Cajun olive oil. But if you're getting it from another country, they're probably not going to produce Cajun olive oil, so it's kind of something a little different. So the first thing we did was we gave 6 bottles of the olive oil, 6 different flavors. And I thought that it would be cool if we pulled the name out of Calvin's hat.
Yeah, so we did.
And and being in this business long enough, I know that there's fans of every team under the sun. And I know that if people would see a name picked out of the Alabama hat, they won't forget it. Right, Calvin?
Right.
They won't forget who he likes, Oh, one thing I got to tell you, though. One of the first winners that he had was from Clemson. so that was funny. Alabama and Clemson kind of played each other a few times lately, So that was funny.
Clemson got them last year, and then they turned around and returned the favor this year, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So Calvin, going to these shows and kind of going on the road with your dad. I mean, that had to be a lot of fun for you. And I'm assuming I can only imagine how excited you were when he finally said, "Hey, you don't have to stay in the hotel anymore. You get to come out and go have fun with me," right? Wasn't that awesome?
Yeah.
Yeah, I before COVID started, I was able to bring him to the Louisiana restaurant show. Okay.
Have you ever been there?
I haven't been to that one, no.
The Louisiana restaurant. The thing is, since Louisiana is so big in food, even though the state is not the largest state in the country, the food service show is a big deal,
Yeah.
And I brought him there, and I couldn't believe the number of people that knew who he was when he got there. That was the thing that was so funny. And now here we are, 2 years, almost a year and a half later. When he goes back to the Louisiana restaurant show, there's even going to be more people that know who he is. So I think that's fun. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing about, what you're doing and how you're using LinkedIn is that it really does make a huge difference. And I think one of the great things about it is that taking those relationships that you're creating and trying to establish real ones, face to face and Zooms and different things like that. And I think it speaks to the power of, when you guys speak to a product and say, "This is the best pen I've ever used, and you should get one," it has weight. With your background, obviously, Randal, and just you guys are fun. You guys are fun to watch. When I watch your videos, I get a kick out of y'all's banter back and forth, and I think that's all got staying power, and that helps you when you're promoting these products for people to get involved and say, "Yeah, let me try that out." So what is your favorite? So if you had to pick one item, and I know maybe I'm putting you in a bad spot asking you to single out one, but if you had to say one item that's been your favorite that's in your fridge right now, what item would that be?
Yeah, let's see what.
Well, I mean, the one thing that I talk a lot about all the time, I think people pick up on it, is the fact that I live in Bluebell territory, for instance. I love Bluebell ice cream.
Yeah.
But the deal here is that even though you like Bluebell ice cream, that doesn't mean that you gotta not like anybody else. And
right.
and the thing is, I like all of them. You could find something good from every different brand of ice cream that's out there. For instance, Grater's ice creams, when they came out with 6 new flavors, they sent it out our way. And the one thing that I talked about was the one that we liked was Chunky Hippo.
Chunky Hippo.
And the thing about it is it was just loaded with all kinds of good stuff. I don't remember exactly, but it might have had cashews, might have had caramel, chocolate. It had a bunch of stuff in it, the kitchen sink, and it was good. But the deal is it was more than just the fact that it was graters. It had a story behind it. And the deal was that the Chunky Hippo was in the Cincinnati Zoo. That was a big promotion on that particular animal coming in. So the thing is, the consumers today, it's not just, they don't want to be told buy this. They don't want to hear the story. How did it start? What the deal was. So the Chunky Hippo definitely made some tracks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the deal, even though I'm not from Michigan, Hudsonville Ice Cream sent us half gallon. They sent us 6 48-ounce containers of ice cream. And the deal there is, if you watch all the food things, you'll know that Mackinac Island fudge is a big deal. And one of their ice creams are Mackinac Island fudge. So that was a good item.
So I watched this funny plumber. Okay.
Oh, he wants to talk about the plumber.
I watch this funny plumber every day on the computer screen.
Yeah, one of the guys one of the things, since I was kind of early on LinkedIn Live, what I used to do is I used to take the hashtag LinkedIn Live, and then I'd let everybody know that there's 4,300 people following the hashtag LinkedIn Live. And then I created a who's been on LinkedIn Live lately.
Yeah.
And then what I did was I took all the different people from all the different categories and let people know who else was doing LinkedIn Live, because there's people on LinkedIn that probably don't get exposed to much of the LinkedIn Live because they're not connected to those guys.
How many shows you had done the last time we talked?
So I've done, you guys are my 7th official show. So we've done 7, 1 a week since we started. So, which I'm pretty proud of. We've had some pretty amazing people on, and you guys are no exception. It's been really awesome, Calvin. And I kind of led with, when I got approved for LinkedIn Live, you and your dad were so helpful to me as far as getting hooked up with StreamYard and just how to set it up. So I'll never forget you guys doing that and how giving of your time you were with helping me do that. So
and then you had the assistance of Calvin too, right? Because Calvin took the time. He was on that call, right? You were on that call. But the deal is, the thing that I learned it from Cher Jones. She has a LinkedIn Live, and she's out of Canada. And she was talking about, she's really into, live streaming and YouTube and that kind of stuff. And I wasn't into all that. And she would talk about a bunch of the different platforms that you could use.
Yeah. But
then one day she did a show where she said, but StreamYard's pretty easy. Oh, that's all I had to hear. Because, we're in the, if we're in the food business, we got a lot of problems to worry about, a lot of things to do. And we can't spend, 40 hours a week learning how to do the video. So we needed something that was easy to use. And then when I first got started with StreamYard, I found out that they tried not to add all the bells and the whistles, because when you have too many bells and whistles on a program, things go wrong. And the thing is, if we don't have much experience doing this, we don't need that problem. We need it to be pretty easy to do. And so far, like I say, I'm on 109, and I've done pretty well with it. I haven't completely lost a broadcast or it might not have worked like I wanted it to, but at least it was okay,
Yeah, I found it to be very, very easy and user friendly. And Bonnie Strominger, she's I actually talked to her yesterday. We were talking about she's got this great product called Go Lids, and and she was sharing with me the story behind the Go Lids and sharing the product with me. And holy cow, I mean, what a brilliant idea, right? And she was talking yesterday as we were just chit chatting a little bit. She had mentioned Cher as well, and that's a name I've heard a lot in the circle, if you will, about someone who's really learned how to do LinkedIn Live well, and
Right.
she's got quite the following and quite the number of people that like to watch her when she's on. So yeah, so um, Cher is definitely one of those people that has been a trailblazer for the platform.
And,
I get,
and you see, the thing is, on when you're on this in the early stages of it, you can do LinkedIn Live for every profession under the sun. And the deal is, when you engage with some of the people that are doing these LinkedIn Lives and they do something different, you could always go to a particular person that knows something that you don't know. Like, for instance, like Calvin was talking about, Roger Wakefield. He's got LinkedIn Live and he's a plumber. So how important do you think he is in the state of Texas right now? When all that ice thaws out, he should be pretty busy. But the deal is, he did a LinkedIn Live talking about what the situation is, because people don't want to talk to their doctor today. They want to talk to their plumber. That's the most important thing right now. And then later on, that'll change. But when you're able to help hundreds of people or thousands of people, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's the thing that I've enjoyed is the ability to spotlight others and kind of talk about people. And like this show, kind of the whole theme of it was generated around finding people that other people may not have heard of or be connected to, and giving them a platform to talk about what they do, how they get it. I am just fascinated by stories. So I love to read about business stories. I love to read about people's journeys because the stories are what makes the brand, right? So, you know, I did a shout out or a spotlight, if you will, of Lakonda. She's the president for an ice cream company. It's funny that we were just talking about ice cream, but of the ice cream company there in called Velvet, and it's they're located just outside of Columbus, Ohio, and the reason that I found her was because she had shared a story about that they were doing some upgrades and investing to their equipment during COVID, so that way they could increase production and be ready post COVID, but what happened was people started sharing these stories. There was a young lady that came on and was talking about her grandmother and grandfather met at one of the original places where they sold Velvet ice cream and over Velvet ice cream. And if it wasn't for Velvet ice cream, perhaps she wouldn't even be here, right? Because they wouldn't have met. So those stories to me are the things that make brands, and they are what makes things interesting, right? And if we can't get excited about the story, what are we doing, right? And that's one of the things I like about what you're doing is, and one of the things that I love is that you don't only just say, here's a great product, you tell the story of the product. And I think you do a tremendous job with that.
The thing I was going to tell you is that I crunched Nielsen data for a long time, and I had access to all the frozen data. And the deal is, I would come across every brand under the sun, and Velvet ice cream was one of those brands that I had not seen. You look at everything in the cases when you travel the country, but that doesn't mean that your brain remembers them. You know what I mean? And the deal is, when you did the story on Velvet ice cream, that kind of increases the game to where when I see more things about that, I'll pay more attention to it.
Yeah.
So you see, you affected me as far as that particular brand is concerned.
Yeah, and I think it's
your story.
Yeah, and the thing is that, what I have found is that I have just gained a lot of appreciation and a lot of joy in promoting people and shining a spotlight. In our world today, there's so much negativity, right? There's just so much negativity, and there's so much people out there that just are not living in a positive, purposeful way, right? And so when I see people like you, I see people like Bonnie. I see people like Tim Young. I see people like Brad Norwood. I see people like Jesse Cole. It gives me a lot of hope that we've still got a lot of people out there that are doing it right. And we can't ever give up being the sunshine and the positivity in the world that we live in, or in the area that we can influence, whether it be LinkedIn or whether that be out in the communities where we live. And so I think it's so important that we continue to focus on positive things, and we recognize when people are doing awesome things. So let me ask you this. So as you're preparing, can you give us any teasers for any items that maybe you're going to be featuring anytime soon?
That the thing is, as time goes by, more and more stuff comes in, and I can't really tell you what's going to come down the road. But I just have this one item that I wanted to show you, just so that you know it exists. Once you see it, then you know that it's something that you probably haven't seen before. And if you're now, this doesn't really show up on video too well.
Okay.
But what that is fleur-de-lis shaped pasta. It's perfect for any New Orleans Saints tailgate party. The thing that's cool about it is I can talk about this pasta that's shaped in the New Orleans fleur-de-lis. That just happens to be, I think, on my hat, whatever. But the deal is, you can do promotions with meatballs, Italian sausage, the sauces, the cheeses, all the different other food companies, the food brands that go along with the pasta, right? And right. The deal, if you like pasta, there's no reason you shouldn't like an item like this. The other one I want to show you is that this is a pasta with crawfish. Now, one thing I can tell you is that I talk about crawfish all the time. The meat, the seafood part of it. Today's the first day of Lent, okay? But how cool would it be to have a party and your pasta looks like crawfish shaped?
It's Ash Wednesday.
Yeah, it's Ash Wednesday. So the deal is, I'm looking for I'm kind of looking for the things that are unique. Every manufacturer, every brand has something a little different. And I don't know about you, but if you had a party and you like the Saints, that probably would work pretty well.
I bet. Oh man, what's the quarterback? Did you hear Drew Brees retired?
I did hear Drew Brees was going to retire, but has he come out and officially announced that yet?
No. One thing about Calvin, he talks about the rumors there. We still got to find out if it's official, Calvin. That's still something we got to see. But go ahead. But what I was going to say is, you understand the deal is, when you look at a product line, you always look at something that's different. And then the other thing is, if packaging is if packaging is awesome, then you want to share that with other people. You want them to know that there's an item that looks pretty cool.
What I do, I do law enforcement. My dad's not part of that, but
no, I don't do the law enforcement thing. He's linked up with a lot of people that are in law enforcement, right, Calvin?
Yep. That's all.
I used to have a friend that used to call him every 2 or 3 weeks to let him know what cases he was working on. He was a private detective. When I was giving all the details, but he was part of the deal. And then he would ask Calvin, "What you think I ought to do?" And then he would tell him.
Put the handcuffs on.
And it's amazing. Even the thing with Calvin, with his cerebral palsy, he doesn't have the ability to add 3 and 4 to get 7. That part of the brain doesn't work right. But you could tell from the personality side, he's pretty good. And the thing is, he knows what he likes to eat, right?
Yeah, gumbo.
Yeah, he's gumbo. He loves the gumbo, huh?
And the other thing he likes is Alabama sausage. That's a company. It's a brand called Conecuh.
Conecuh sausage, yeah.
And that's what he likes. So that's what he talks about all the time.
I bet you get a lot of comments, huh?
Yeah, you've been getting a lot of comments. You're right. They love you. You got one here that from Diana, and she talked about your dad's story with Winn-Dixie resonated with her. Bonnie's dropped in to say hi. Tim Young dropped in to say hi. All these great people talking about Calvin and Randal. I think he's giving you a run for your money in the popularity contest there, Randal.
I know. I'm working for him now. There's no doubt about it. Hey, look, while we're at it, Tim Young, one thing that Tim Young did was he put together a few things and sent it over to Calvin, and he was really, really happy about it. So if you ever see Calvin with his Reese's hats or his Reese's shirt, that came from Tim. Tim got that for Calvin. And then the other thing is Bonnie does video. And she's been extremely consistent with video since the beginning of time, I guess. And the deal is she sells an item that's perfect for COVID, wouldn't you say? I mean, if you're buying something and you're leaving the store, you want your food covered, and she's got some good stuff.
She's got a home run, and for those of you watching at home, a little sneak peek. We are actually going to have Bonnie on the Living a Purposeful Lifestyle show here in a couple of weeks. So I'm looking forward to that and her sharing her story. And it is quite the story that she has to share. And, all these things we talk about, about finding your purpose and your calling and what you're good at. And one of the things I've been blessed with is that the convenience industry, even though when I first got into it, I didn't get into it to stay in it. I just kind of got into it to get some experience, and then it fit me very well like a glove. And then it's allowed me to kind of morph into a leader and a positivity person and all the things that I do here at LinkedIn. And so, and I think for someone like you, I think in a lot of ways, it kind of happened that way for you. You got into food business, you did sales, you were all over the place with it. And then you found this great thing called LinkedIn. And now you've been able to utilize that to where you increase your message. So instead of your message being constricted to maybe a certain little area or a certain product, now you've expanded to where you do multiple products all over the country, and your reach is so much greater and your influence is so much greater. And just getting to know you, I know how much that means to you to be able to share those stories and share those products with all kinds of people. And so I think it's interesting that while our journeys were completely different, in a lot of ways, in substance, they were the same. And I kind of see the same thing play out with other people that I've connected on here with, is that there just is so much opportunity.
But the thing is, you remember when you got into the industry way back when, right?
Right.
If you wanted to get attention for whatever you were selling, you had to go to the newspaper or the news. And if they didn't pick it up, you didn't get the publicity. So, and then the other thing is, all the other things that you were able to do was pretty expensive. So the opportunities to get the story out was pretty tough. But today, we can just at any time turn on the computer, and if we have a following, we could go out and say that we like Bluebell pecans, pralines, and cream, or we can say we like blackberry chocolate chip from Grater's ice cream. You could say what you want and get the word out and say that.
So I had an idea on a Sunday morning to put my dad on News 25.
Yeah.
So was he the one that arranged that?
Yeah. He's what I did was I just said that we talk about a lot of local product. Every manufacturer that I ever hear about that's in Mississippi Mississippi or Louisiana, I tend to really focus on trying to, at least talk about it. Even though they may never ever sell anything outside of their state, it's still a good story.
So I told him, I said, why don't you put the news on News 25? And we were on the news twice.
So what happened? What happened was it was Super Bowl morning. We had stayed up late that night. We were watching the Drew Brees story about what he went through to get to the Saints, all the history there. We watched the deal with Katrina, how the dome was rebuilt, and the Steve Gleason block of the kick that rocked the city. It was a big news story. We watched all that, and then at 2:30, when Calvin and I were deciding to go to sleep that night, we looked at the phone and it said, Calvin, are you available for an interview tomorrow on Super Bowl Sunday? And I started not to tell him because I was afraid of him not sleeping at all. But I told him, and he actually slept, and he did the interview at 12 o'clock the next day. And the next thing you know, he's on the news. He's on the news. So, and then the next day, the following day, he was on the news again. So, I mean, I was like, wow, Calvin, that's pretty good.
And you've been on the news two more times than I have in my entire life, Calvin. And yeah, so you're way ahead of me on that in that arena.
You know, that's not easy to do. That doesn't happen every day, right, Calvin?
No.
Yeah. So that's what so he was all excited about that. So the whole deal is that even though you're doing what you like, I like what I'm doing. Okay. It doesn't seem like it's work because I get if I want to talk about cheesecake this afternoon, I talk about cheesecake. If I want to talk about gumbo tomorrow morning,
Our king cake.
Oh, by the way, just so you know, before we did this filming, Calvin got into the king cake.
Did he get the little baby? Don't they put the little baby in the king
I don't know
cake?
about you, but when I woke up in the morning, I saw the baby laying there, and I don't know who got it while I was sleeping, but somebody got it. But yeah, the baby has already been discovered, and I have a feeling it might have been Calvin that got it. But anyway, talking about businesses, that by my house in Metairie, there's a place called Manny Randazzo's. They make the best king cakes. Unbelievable. And we had a friend that just dropped one off a couple days ago, and that was a big surprise because we thought everything was going to be shut down. That was it. No more. Because at Mardi Gras, they stopped selling it. That's it. It's finished. So to get one, that was great.
So what was the name of the company again?
It's Manny
Randazzo.
Manny Randazzo.
In Louisiana.
In Metairie, Louisiana.
We live there.
Look, isn't it great when you got lines out the door and they say I either want a big one, a small one, or a medium? I mean, it's
let me tell you a secret. You ready?
I'm ready.
25 years.
Yep. Hey, if you're running a gas station, wouldn't it be great if you only had 3 items to sell and you didn't have to do all the work to put all the other 1,000? How many in a typical gas station? How many SKUs is there?
I mean, there's I couldn't tell you. Tim Young might be a better source for that, but I would say it's probably between 5,000 and 6,000, maybe more. I mean,
right.
Every flavor of pop is different. You know, you've got, I mean, in our coolers alone, I mean, it's just an unbelievable amount of different items and offerings that you have. So,
what is a hot item in your store right now?
Believe it or not, right now we still sell a ton. So the interesting thing is that COVID has pushed people more to bottled drinks than fountain and things. So we have seen a huge increase in fountain. And obviously, anytime you have disruption, whether it be economy, COVID, whatever, alcohol and booze seem to pick up as people sit at home. They want to drink their sorrows away, if you will. So Tim Young answered our question. Thanks, Tim, for the quick response here.
All right.
He said 10,000 plus items. So, and like I said, that's a ton of items that are in a typical store.
And trying to figure out what the right mix is almost, I mean, it's impossible to have the perfect, mixture.
Dad, tell me about Rush Limbaugh.
Because anytime you have 10,000, anytime you have 10,000 items, there's always 7 items that they're always going to tell you about that you're not carrying.
You ever heard of Rush Limbaugh?
Yeah.
He died this morning.
Is that true?
Yeah, Rush Limbaugh died. Yes. I don't know what. Yeah.
I had not heard that. I knew that he hadn't been in the last few days, but I had not heard. And I guess being honest with you, I know that he's been really sick, but I had not heard that.
That's what you see. Sometimes Calvin's given some news that I'm not exactly sure about because I haven't seen it, but that I can say that happened.
You have a good studio there.
Yeah, he got a studio. So how you like that? He's in number 7. So when Jason has LinkedIn Live number 289, we can say that Calvin was on number 7.
Yeah.
Good old lucky number 7. Well,
then
we're getting.
when you go through all the backgrounds, then they're gonna say, "Who has got those A's in the back?"
Oh, I put the Alabama background for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it. And I think Bonnie's the one. Was it Bonnie or Diane? One of them. Diane. She's the one that pointed out and said she loves your background there.
Thank you.
So, well, as we try to wrap this up and kind of come to a close today, I always ask, somebody to leave some encouragement, and there's obviously people at all different points of life and in their journey, and maybe give someone some advice that maybe is looking for encouragement as far as finding their purpose and living their purpose. So I'm going to let you kind of end the show on that, Randal.
Hey, one thing I can tell you is that when I was graduating from Nicholls State University in Thibodaux way back in the day, there was no social media.
No,
but the thing that I learned toward the end of my by the time I finished graduating, even though I was working in grocery stores, it's very, very important to be social, to get involved in things. I feel that back then people didn't want somebody that just had the 4.0 average. I didn't have that, of course, but it's not just about the grade. It's how you engage with people. And the thing is, now here we are, 40 years late, almost 40 years later, it's the same thing, but it's digital. And the thing is you don't have to go to an event to socialize. Now we get to socialize with people all over the world just by turning on the computer. And that's very, very important, I think. So I think down the road, when they hire people in sales later down the road in different positions, I think how well you do on social is going to be very, very important in that job deal.
I bet you work for your same boss down there, right?
Everybody's got a boss. Everybody's got a boss. What I was going to say is that the deal with social media, it gives you an opportunity to be involved with several other people that make the decision. Because a lot of times people think that just one person makes the decision. No, there's a lot of people involved at a company that makes that decision. And this gives you a chance to communicate with a lot of people all at the same time.
So we had Papa Rose on the show last week.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We had Papa Rose.
Yeah.
So Randal, Calvin, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure. For those of you watching at home, got a surprise for you. So this week, like last week, we did a T-shirt drawing, and we sent out one of Tony's fabulous As You Go shirts. And the winner last week was Bonnie. If you haven't seen the video where I announced that today, just like last week, when we get done with the show here, I'll be doing another video and posting that a little later this evening of a drawing for a $25 gift card. I could think of nothing better than to give someone a gift card to a restaurant of their choice to celebrate food, since that's Randal's bread and butter. So Randal, Calvin, again, can't say thank you enough. It's been a pleasure having you and sharing your journey and your story with all of us. Until next week, continue to live with purpose, continue to live with passion, and we'll see you next Wednesday at 3 o'clock right here on the Living a Purposeful Lifestyle. Thanks again.
Thank you for having us.